I forgot that my timer was automatic. We are live. Hello. Bandit King.
Hello,
Is Diary of
hello.
the Dead an actual movie?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Like, I feel like I got caught with my pants down. I'm in the middle of like promoting myself on other like servers. Oh my god. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna stop promoting. All right, guys. Welcome to the Diary of the Dead. Diary of the Dead is a zombie movie directed by George Romero.
Is it?
Spoilers? Excuse me. But I guess it is. I guess that's something I have to go watch
It
later.
is.
Oh my god.
Fine.
And-
Ours is cooler.
Yeah, ours is better. Ours is newer. You know, better format.
Yep.
Yeah. Cooler
Sexier
zombies.
cast.
Yeah, exactly. Sexier cast. And with that said, guys, Diary of the Dead is a new campaign that is starting this week. It was supposed to start last week, honestly, but I kind of fucked up. Wait, no. It was supposed to start this week, yesterday, but I fucked up scheduling. So now it's today. Secrets revealed, exposed. All right. Anyways, Diary of the Dead is a lovely game that is a duet, first of all. And second of all, I am accompanied tonight by not a streamer, but I think you guys have seen him before. You guys have seen him on From Beyond Death. You've also seen him on City of Ashes. You guys have seen him in many other places, such as Nomad Scuff Jeopardy.
Reigning champ, baby.
The reigning champ. But yeah, this is the one, the only rat, aka Teo. He is now apprising his role as the one true prince of the Valorian Kingdom. You know, no pressure.
That is the. Oh, none at all. I know my place.
Oh my god. Oh shit, even Jay's out. Let's go. Yeah, you guys most likely have heard him in the background too. He's also popped up in a few like homebrew like chats here and there a while back. Get out of here, Seth. But hi, welcome, Seth. Welcome. Shit. Yo, this is a good turnout for the fucking debut. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, so guys, there's no duet command this time around because it's all self-contained. Before we jump in, is there anything I need to do? No, are you ready? Is there anything you want to say before we jump in?
I guess just thank you for coming. I've been waiting for this like for months.
Yeah, this
And
started.
we're finally here.
Yeah, the talk started a long time ago. By the way, guys, there is a VOD if you guys want to meet, Teo in more like deeper context. We do have an interview called Inner Monologue where we talked about Teo, his background in D&D and everything. It is in the VODs, so make sure you go check it out. With that said, shall we begin?
Sure.
All right. So. Welcome to the world of Alanor. Tonight, we will be diving into the colder northern side of the Evergreen Havens. The air there has an eerie stillness to it, the peace feels more uneasy, and the damp fog that creeps every morning only helps the frigid state of the Valorian Kingdom. The further away you are from the jewel of the coast, the more bleak the future seems for those that reside in these lands. The stories told here have no light at the end, however, once in a while a dying flame is all you need to continue. Welcome to the Diary of the Dead. Our story tonight begins. How do you say this? A little bit differently. Music. So, as you listen to the stillness around you, you feel this almost, how do you call this? Dizzying feeling as you begin to open your eyes. As you look around, all you see is black. You feel this weird fabric in front of your eyes, your hands kind of tied up behind you, your legs tied to the floor. As you move them around, you feel the chains underneath you. You smell something familiar. Kind of like the old leather that you'd find within your home in Pretosia. As you try to kind of gather yourself, what would you like to do?
I'm going to test my bindings. How tight am I bound?
As you move, you feel as if you have the cuffs on your hands, you have the chains in between them. Feels rather tight. And as the chains begin to move as you're testing yourself, you hear from ahead of you. Are you ready to start again? Because I'm getting tired of asking you questions.
Where am I? Where's Dredden?
You don't have to worry about him. I have a question. We met many, many years ago. Many years. When was the last time you've been to Arkfall?
Arkfall. Must have been years. Enough of this. Who are you?
You hear subtle steps walking around you. You start to realize that the floor underneath you sounds like wood. The sound begins to echo. You kind of realize that the location that you are in feels a little bit large, you could say. The sound tends to travel for quite some time. And he looks, he kind of like moves around. You hear this male voice come back. There are things that you have set in motion, and I want to get to the bottom of it. Now, if you don't mind, would you please retell the tale of your first time in Arkfall? How did you arrive?
What's in it for me? You presume that you gain anything from keeping me here.
Depending on what you say, may or may not flip the tables of this war.
Fine, I'll humor you. Arkfall, huh? Must have been around 16 the first time I went. My first time out of Pretosia.
As you begin to retell your stories, you hear the sounds of your familiar noble carriage going through the forests of Arkfall. As you retell your story, you begin to say that as you wake up to your left, you see Dresden. He is a rather bulky figure. You've known him for almost all your life. He is your retainer, your escort, your guard. He is everything but your friend. Or that's up to you to decide. You see him, he has his arms crossed, his like dark skin, but with this weird, very playful mustache he has on him. You recognize him. He is a Kingsguard member. However, he is not in any Kingsguard armor. He is he looks dressed to meet nobles, you could say. He is rather clean in how he dresses. As you look at him even further, you begin to remember parts of why you're heading to Arkfall. Dreden looks towards you, and he's like, "So, Master Lysander, are you ready?"
Ready as I'll ever be. You don't think they'll do anything strange, will you?
Arkfall is a lot stranger than Pretosia. You've seen Steelwell. You've seen the many villages on the way. But Arkfall is a beast on its own. It's the dragon's hearth, some say. Did I ever tell you the story about Arkfall? One of our long, how do you say these, teachings back in Pretosia?
I don't believe you have, Truda. Care to enlighten me?
So, your father, way back when he was still amongst the men, you could say. You see he kind of like positions himself even more comfy, like he takes out a little book to his side, opens it. You see he goes through the very early pages of that book. And he begins. Your father, he gave the people of this land a new. His eyes begin to furrow. His eyebrows begin to furrow a little bit. Breath, you could say, a new chance to survive under one banner, and that is your namesake, the Valoran Kingdom. And on this side of the Valoran Kingdom, there used to be a faction, you could say, of, lack of a better term, uneducated ruffians that would travel these lands, causing chaos where they wish.
Bandits.
Not necessarily. Your father used to say that they required the All-Father's guidance, so he didn't want to call them bandits. There's a strong negative connotation to it, you'd say. He begins to like play with his fancy mustache that's above his lip.
So beyond, well, for lack of a better term, political correctness, he called bandits something else.
At times he called them the Ashen. That was his little name he would like to call them. The Brave. He used to use many words that.
Awfully kind names for pillagers.
Yes, it's a very complicated situation. Have you ever met a Nersinian, the people of Arkfall?
Uh, I believe maybe I've met one or two back home.
Yeah, they're quite rare back home, I would say. Well, these they call themselves Arsinians. A lot of other people use the common term of they're like half dragons, kind of like dragon bones, but more human-like. Well, they had a different way of living, and your father decided to guide them.
Guide.
And yes, he helped bring them and educate them in the ways of the Valoran kingdom in the early days. So, under your father's guidance and the Allfather as well, he made them join our coalition at the time, which is now the Empire. So, under the peace treaty that he has created for them and for us, they are you could say a vassal to the kingdom that operates on their own terms. So it's going to get very interesting when we arrive.
Well then, I suppose all I can do is hope for the best. Hope this diplomatic mission goes smoothly.
Do you remember what the diplomatic mission was? It would be best to refresh your mind, as we are
Very
probably
well,
a day's travel ahead.
I don't imagine you'd let me rest otherwise, so be my guest.
He kind of looks at you with a slight smirk. You know, you're kind of playing on his enjoyment of talking. And he says, we are here to strengthen our ties. Your father has sent you to Arkfall as a representative. And as this is your first diplomatic mission, he thought this would be the best way to get your feet wet.
Well, not wrong.
We will be meeting with the Valoran embassy. We're gonna be meeting with the current head. His name is Starwolf. Rather eccentric. He kind of looks around for a word a little bit. Well-fed man. And as well
Yes.
as you'll be meeting the latest escort, you could say, or that's a rather bad term. More of your guide to Arkfall. She is quite young, a little bit older than you, but I think it'll be nice for you to set relationships properly.
And who might this be?
They call her Oaken Victory. Oaken is a title, usually given to the last members of the family. Last surviving members.
Anything I can expect from Oaken Victor?
Victory. She goes by
Victory.
Vic. But her full name is Victory. Out of it's one of
Oh.
those names. But we do not know much. I have not kept in contact with her, but I believe when you do meet her, do your best to put the Valoran's foot forward properly.
Dreden. Do not forget who you're talking to.
Of course, Master Lysander. You've done well in your studies. I just wanted to make sure. There's nothing wrong with preparation. He kind of fixes
I
himself a little bit.
Can't disagree.
And as you look at the rest of this cabin, it's quite large. You recognize this is the carriage that only the Valoran heirs would get to use. It is studded. It is covered in white and red lines, and it is very eccentric. It's very loud, and in this very glamorous carriage, you can kind of see Dreden kind of like take out his sword. He begins to sharpen it right in the middle of this carriage.
Is that necessary, Dreden?
He puts his head out. He looks ahead. He comes back inside and he looks at you. If you look outside right now, there is some kind of storm, rather northeast. Half a day's travel away. Are you familiar with the Azure Knight?
I sort of look at him sheepishly. I may have slept through that lesson.
Well, Eldra's
Can
teachings.
I make a history check for that?
Yes, of course. Go for it.
All right. History. No,
Okay.
15.
So you understand that the Azure Knight is a how do you call this? He is some sort of urban myth that's been talked about amongst the people of Valoran. He is this kind of like Valkyrie looking figure that travels the lands under the orders of Eldra, the goddess of order. He tends to arrive at the most crucial of moments, and if not, he is roaming the Valoran lands. In your teachings, they would say he is protecting the land.
I will relay that information to Dreden.
Well done. Well, if that storm is some kind of indicator, if the sun breaks through, there's a fight coming, and we should obviously stay ready. But if no sun breaks through, we are fine. Like most of our travels, we have quite a few people ahead of us, making sure that our path is safe.
At that, I will reach to my side and hold on to my staff. Just grip it a little tighter.
You hear a voice in your head.
Are you scared, little boy?
Scared. Concerned.
What is there to be concerned about?
Look. Just leave me be for now. I sort of palm my staff a bit nervously, looking at the storm. What do you think's going to happen?
Many things can happen. I'm here just to, you figure it out.
Thank you for your help. I suppose. Thank you.
You get this odd feeling that this voice was probably like smiling when she said that. You recognize this female voice. It's something that you've been attuned to for quite some time.
I'll shake my head and resume staring out the window, looking at the clouds.
As time moves and you can feel the cart beneath you kind of jump up and down, the constant sharpening of the blade is right beside you. And Jaden kind of like peeks out and he's like, "How much longer to Arkfall?" You hear the driver like kind of like shouts back. 1 second.
Come on.
But yeah, he kind of like shouts, "We half a day's travel. We can arrive sooner, but I believe you want to arrive in the morning." And you kind of hear Dredden's like, "Given the current state, we should probably just arrive tonight if possible." "Yes, sir." And you hear the snapping of the reins as your cart begins to move a little bit faster.
What happens now, Dreden?
Don't worry, Master Lysander. It's superstitious feelings. I'm acting on instinct. It's a lot better if we arrive in Arkfall as soon as possible.
I'll insight check them.
Okay.
Insight. Not one.
As you kind of look at him, you feel some kind of comfort. You've been on travels before with him, but not this far. But most of the time, he has kept you safe.
Very well. I'll take your word for it, Dreden.
All right. So, is there anything you would like to do during this time?
Do I have any information on me regarding what exactly I have to do? Like beyond what Dreden informed me, do I have maybe some journal or papers which I can go through?
To the best of your information, this is kind of like when you met with your father for this quest, he gave you this quest kind of like offhandedly, as he usually is doing.
Yeah.
He kind of just mentioned it, and Dreden kind of took control.
Sure.
So you currently do not have any form of formal letter. You are unsure if anyone knows about this mission, but Dreden kind of like he's someone who's kind of like trying to back you up in your decisions, and you just got a +1 for your next roll. Lovely. So
Thank you.
is there anything else you would like to do?
Could you send me the names of who I have to meet? Just before anything, so I can
Yeah, sure.
keep track of that. And I suppose until then, I'll just keep an eye out for anything. I'll just rely on my passive perception for that.
Okay. Lauren, Ambassador, Starwolf. I have the last names, but I have to get it. I'll send it to you later.
Yeah, no problem.
And then the Arsenian Guide. Oaken, which is the title, and Victory is her name.
All right.
So, some time passes. You can guesstimate that it's around 2+ hours that if you've been on the road. Off in the distance, you see that the state of the land looks a little bit different. As you look out, you kind of notice that there are these large kind of sharp figures that are coming out of the ground, and you see little like kind of hoops, even, or just hanging platforms that lay around these sharp figures are kind of like pushing out of the ground. As you kind of like look ahead outside of the window of your carriage, you start to notice that it's like a group of sharp figures. You kind of put it together that it looks like a rib cage.
I turn to Dreden. Dreden,
Yes, he's holding onto his sword.
where are we?
We are, I guess you could say, we are probably on Arsenian lands. The main city shouldn't be that far. How come? Why are you
I
asking?
gesture to the landscape outside. That looks foreboding.
Yes. Unlike our usual regions of Pretosia, Steelwell, this side of the Evergreen Havens tends to have a more historied landscape. It is rumored that those are the ribs of a dragon that your father has slayed. He smiles.
Father, kill the dragon.
Indeed, him and his lovely bunch of associates.
Somehow I can't imagine that. Seems... Well... Fathers seemed a little less dragon slayer, I suppose.
He was much more of a formidable fighter back in the day. Much, much more. Don't tell him I said that, please.
Your worries are unwarranted, Drayden.
That's good. You see there's a slight hesitation as he says that. You're about to see one of the most interesting landscapes here in the Evergreen Haven. You know, back home we had the elven forest next to us. That was very lush. But further out, if you're like me, who loves history, it's quite lovely to see.
Am I about to see a
Creatures,
forest of bones, Drayden?
Can you repeat that?
Am I about to see a forest of bones, Drayden?
Forest of Bones. You could say that as you kind of like look around. He kind of like points. Trees have a paler complexion. That is, as once rumored once again, to be made of the ashes and the bones of this dragon. As we get closer to Arkfall, you will see this interesting land called the Wailing Wastes. The Wailing Wastes is a lot more. You what? Ooh, interesting. So I'm glad that you remember our studies.
Well, it's one of the few things that caught my interest. More so than the other lessons.
And as you kind of begin to look around even further, you start hearing the sound of something similar to a stampede. You can hear the ground rumble beside you. And you look to your side, you can see kind of Dreden holding onto his sword even tighter.
At this, I sort of grip my staff and I turn to Dreden. Dreden? What is that?
Well, if you've been listening to your studies, sometimes Azure Knight makes the sound of a stampede when he arrives, bringing on the rest of this Valkyrie crusade. Or it could be other things. Let us just hope it is the Azure Knight. And, yeah, his voice gets a little bit more shaky. You can see his leg is kind of like jumping up and down nonstop. A little bit, uncontrolled.
I'm gonna turn and look out the window. In both, I suppose, in both anticipation and fear.
As you look out, are you gonna try to make an active check to look ahead, or you just want to see the passive stuff around you?
I'll make an active check, sure. Let's see. Perception. 12
Alright.
plus 1, 13.
Okay, so as you look out, you see that the clouds in the distance seem to have some kind of break-in. You see this weird, almost obnoxious break of light entering within the storm, you could say. However, the sound of stampedes do not sound like they're coming from that direction. As you pay closer attention, it sounds like it's coming from ahead of you. You see Dreden kind of like turn towards you. He says, "So we are very far from Pretosia. I hope our training together will be worth it when the time comes."
I look at Dreden and I give him a shaky smile, sort of nod in affirmation. You and I share the same hopes, Dreden. You and I both.
The sound of the stampede gets louder and louder and louder, almost deafening. And then all of a sudden, you feel the cart go to a complete stop, kind of like pushing you forward. You hear the horses kind of begin to neigh out of panic. And you see, immediately you see Dreden to step out with sword in hand, opened out of the scabbard, and he's already holding it out. And in minutes or even seconds, this ball of dust kind of envelops your entire carriage. And it's this deafening sound of the stampedes, going through both of your ears nonstop. Could you please make a wisdom saving throw?
Ooh. Wisdom saving throw. Oh god. Where are the saving throws on this sheet?
I
There
think
it is.
I was about to say I can request.
Oh.
All right.
That's a 10.
You immediately feel a little bit hazy, a little bit dazed as this nonstop drumming of the stampede begins to kind of like push you off balance. You feel a little bit sick, and out of nowhere, you feel coming from whatever you've been eating for the past few days, this go right out of your mouth. And as you kind of like hear through the stampede, "Come over here, you fuckers!" And you just hear fucking Dreden kind of start swinging his sword, knocking into the carriage from time to time. And then it almost, as fast as it came, the sound begins to dissipate, leaving just a ball of dust around you, this large cloud. And you
As
hear
I,
silence.
As I finish retching, Dreden!
Do you try to
I,
exit your carriage?
Yeah, I shove open the door to the carriage and I hobble out. Dreden, where are you?
As you hobble out, you feel kind of your legs feel a little bit almost like water, like you can't stand on even ground. You feel you kind of like you drop to your knee, and as you look around, you kind of see these large reptilian creatures, almost the size of a horse, standing at attention. There is about 4 of them surrounding your cart. Dreden has his sword out, but as he looks around, he begins to put it away. As you arrive back to your senses, as you arrive back to your senses, you see these half dragon creatures on top of these reptilian kind of lizards, you could say. You can see like their forked tongues coming out. You can feel this heavy breath kind of approaching you as you look up at these half dragon humanoids that are sitting on top of these reptiles. They are covered head to toe in armor that is quite similar to the Protosian colors. You know, you have the bright white to the very scarlet crimson red that kind of lines their armor. They have flags beside them. As you look at the flag, you see something very familiar. It reminds you of the landscape that is ahead of you. It is comprised of two sharp curved objects, and between them it seems to be that hanging platform that you see in the distance. The flag itself is gold and white with red accents. And Dreden kind of puts his sword away. Oh, you'll never get used to those. And he kind of like looks across. Who's the one leading you all? And you kind of hear them begin to talk to amongst themselves. It doesn't sound. It sounds like common, but it isn't close enough for you to understand. It sounds like a butchered in your ears. It sounds like a butchered version of the common language.
I turn to Dreden and I sort of lean over and whisper, "What was that, Dreden?"
I am assuming that this is the escort, and he kind of like he's not looking at you, he's looking at the four reptiles that are kind of like this towering over your carriage at this point. I believe they are gonna give us safe passage back to Arkfall, right? And he kind of like, even though his sword is like in the scabbard, he's kind of like, his hand is still on it. And then he begins to speak in almost the same language. He does his best. And he starts replying. You can't tell what he's saying. However, for a few words here and there that you do notice are safety and Oaken. And as time passes, you see the horses are kind of still a little bit panicked. They're like moving side to side, trying to get rid of the how do you say, the harness that is attached to the carriage. And as you look onwards, you see that behind one of these tall, like half dragon knights, you could say, you kind of see this white, almost blindingly white half dragon kind of peek out from behind them. The stature is a little bit short, but definitely female in figure. You see that she has this helmet that kind of resembles the snout of a dragon. As she lifts it up, you see that this quite beautiful human face behind it. And Dreden immediately goes, "Oaken victory! It is quite the lovely sight to see you today."
As he mentions Oaken, I step forward and I do a traditional bow out of courtesy, and I say, "Oaken victory. It's a pleasure to meet you. I apologize it had to be under such circumstances."
She looks at you with a very quiet stature. She does not say anything. And during this time, And then one of the knights that has accompanied her says, in kind of a broken common language that resembles yours, says, "We bring you to Arkfall safer, faster. Your he goes back and he speaks in a different language once again, and he looks back at you. Um, friends,
Carriage.
carriage. Dreden kind of like turns towards you. He puts his hands up a little bit. We tell your friends, take care the dusk there, and he points in the distance. We bring you to Akfa. Dreden kind of like says, like, in interruption, we cannot leave the royal carriage at some tavern out in the middle of Arkfall now, can we?
I turn to Dreden. Dreden, we most certainly can.
Your father will not like this, and he kind of like turns. He just looks at you.
If you'd like, Dreden, you may stay with the carriage while I head to Arkfall. The way I see it, it would be remiss for us to decline such hospitality.
We shall accompany you. He turns like towards to the half dragons that are just looking towards your way. We shall accompany you.
However, I turn to Dreden. It would be unfortunate if anything were to happen to the cart, so perhaps the guard of Arkfall could dispatch 1 or 2 men to look after the cart. That way, both parties are satisfied.
He takes a deep breath. That is quite wise. He looks at you with like some sort of how do you say this? Pride. And he looks back towards them. We humbly request one of your men to at least accompany the cart to the dusk. And then you hear the little girl behind those knights kind of say something. You're once again, you're unfamiliar. It's a different language. And then one of the guards says, "We, yes, can do." And then immediately you hear the, like 2 whistles, and all of a sudden the stomping, kind of like a quiet stomping, begins to begin as you see these reptilian creatures, their legs kind of go up and down, really heavily digging into the ground beneath you, making these heavy sounds. And it begins to almost in like breakneck speed. It does not change its position. It kind of like does like a drift, you could say, and it goes around to the other side of the cart. And then at that time, one of the guards kind of kicks back against the harness of those reptilian creatures, and you see these stairs kind of like fall out. And Gina kind of looks at you, and he says, "Well,
I give him a nod, and then I adjust my cloak. I strap my staff onto my back, and then I go up the steps.
He at this point, as you go up the steps, Master Lysander, is there any equipment you would like to bring? Clothing? As you know, we did bring a sustainable amount from your closet."
Hand me my suitcase. That shall suffice. The rest can arrive at a later date.
Okay. And he enters back into the cart, takes out his stuff, takes out your stuff, and he immediately, throws it onto one of the dragons. And you can see they have like this compartment, you can say, that they put like heavy equipment on. And then he climbs up into one of the other reptiles nearby. You climb up onto which reptilian would you prefer? There is 3 of them now who are going back to Arkfall. One of them has Oak and Victory on it, and the other 2 are just your typical knights.
I'll hop onto the one of the knights because I presume it would be, well, presumptuous for me to hitch a ride on Oak and Victory's own mount.
Okay, so as you latch on, as you sit, you notice that there's like little slots to put your feet in, and the half dragon like turns around. He kind of like positions his long tail a little bit out of your way so it doesn't bother you. And as he kind of like turns, he makes this gesture like above his thighs, and as you look down towards his thighs, you see there's like some kind of like seatbelt almost that holds him down.
I look for a similar harness and I strap it on.
Okay, so as you strap yourself on, here, and all of a sudden the stampeding sounds get louder and louder, and all of a sudden, like, you know, like what's it called? The Roadrunner?
Yeah.
They go off, and you are moving a lot faster than you would on a carriage. Could you please kind of roll a Constitution saving throw?
Constitution saving throw. I'm decent at those, hopefully.
11.
All
All right. So, once again,
well.
you feel like this heavy kind of like drag behind you, then all of a sudden you are just kind of darting forward. You feel almost the weight of the world kind of following behind you. You can hear amongst the stampede, you can hear Dreeden this yelling this entire time. And then you feel this, you know, that slight uneasiness once again. But you hold on. You hold on just enough. And you hold on for a good 30 to 45 minutes. And if you remember correctly earlier, it was said that it should take you at least half a day back to arrive at Arkfall. But as you kind of look around, you are almost at the feet of these large, I guess you could say, rib cages. You took a different path. That is not usually seen. You literally these reptile creatures were going on top of water. Some of them were like, you know, climbing on trees. They were not taking your typical path. But yeah, so you now kind of arrive at the feet of this large rib cage. You see that there seems to be some kind of contraption that looks like an elevator, you could say. It has a pulley system and everything. It is quite well built. It is made out of the same kind of like porcelain white wood, you could say, that you can see around. And you feel as like a slight sound, like not sound, like tap against your leg, and you see one of the half dragon that is riding your reptile kind of puts his hand on his shoulder where like the pauldrons are, and he kind of makes this gesture for you to grab it.
Yeah, I hold on.
And you can hear like beside you, and on the other reptilian riders, it's like, are we here? Are we getting on that contraption? And then out of nowhere, you just hear like a few heavy steps going towards the ridge of the rib cage. You're not serious, are you? You. And all of a sudden, you see this lizard kind of begin to grab and like grasp onto the side of the rib cage, slowly bringing him up. And you just see like you see Dreeden this kind of like, he's holding onto that knight as if his life depended on it, you know? He is like full on hugging him, and he's already ahead of you. And at this time, you can see that the reptilian rider beside you that has Oaken Victory on it, she kind of like looks at you. She doesn't say anything, but it looks like as some time passes, your rider begins to go ahead, slowly walking up this ridge of the rib cage.
How does the view look from as we're climbing up?
So, as you are climbing up this rib cage, you are getting unbelievably higher and higher at every step, even higher than your home in Pretosia. This rib cage kind of like reaches the skies even. Like to put into some kind of perspective, as you look around you, you kind of feel like this, the rib cage. If this was a dragon, it would have been at least at least half the size of the continent. Like those little maps you used to look at as you grew up. Yeah, this dragon would have to be at least half the size of the Evergreen Havens.
And I think to myself, and Father killed this?
As that happens, you hear in your head once again,
Well, Gil may have been a little bit eager of a word.
Eager. Are you sure it's not exaggerated?
There was some sort of slaying. You'll find
Sorry?
out soon.
the voice says there was some kind of slaying, and you will find out soon. So,
And I sort of like, I look at the rest of the ribs. I just shake my head. Unbelievable.
you see as these platforms extend from rib to rib, and as you arrive to the top, as you look in the distance, you see what looks like the entire landscape of the Evergreen Havens. You can even see as far into the horizon as even Steelwell seems to disappear within the horizon, almost as we see the rounding of the earth almost. At this point in time, also nearby where that storm was, you see that it is extremely bright in that one direction. And as you look down, following that light, you see this clearing of forest that has now been almost like decimated, and sitting this added attention. You see this azure knight covered in this very elegant armor from head to toe. Even his horse carries the same kind of motif. And you see that it begins to sprout some wings, and it just folds up into itself. You do not see anything else around him.
Or the knight?
Oh, the knight, sorry. The knight. And around him, you begin to notice that there's a lot of black spots. And as you follow these black spots, you see this large, almost sun-like sphere that is following him around.
Do I see Dreden anywhere nearby? Or is he far ahead?
He, listening to his cries, you hear him. He's quite ahead of you. But yeah, so
And I'm going to think and try and speak to the voice. Do you see that? It's there in the distance.
The lovely Sir von Goldbin. Yes, I do.
Do you do you think he's do you think they're looking my way?
Everyone is looking your way.
Flattering as that is, I cannot help but believe that's untrue.
Obviously, the one prince of the Valoran kingdom will garner many eyes.
Secret there.
And in a few moments, you begin to feel, what's it called? The rider and the entire reptile kind of levels out, and you feel like you're back to normal. As you look around, you are greeted by at least familiar sounds. You hear the sound of people, the sound of people trying to sell stuff. It is, based on sounds, it would be very reminiscent of Pretosia, but based on looks, it looks very, very different.
As we arrive, I'm going to reach into my side and unhook the crown, which I have sort of like hanging on a chain around my hip, and I will just gingerly put it on my head.
Ooh, okay. So, as you begin to put it on your head,
as father would always nag that I don't wear it enough.
Oh, god damn. Alright, so as you arrive, the person I'm the one on the left, Rat Kick is on the one on the right. There's your answer. There's your answer. It's all good. It's all good. Anyways, so as you arrive, you look around. Look around.
How lucky we are to be alive. And that's a fact.
Yes, sir. But yeah, as you arrive with your little, with your crown above your head,
it's not very gaudy. It's just a band with three like relatively big gems on it, but it's not as large or I suppose pretentious as father's.
Okay. So, as you wear it, as you now don this, as you arrive, you see that Dreden has already gotten off his reptile. He's currently like, touching the floor underneath him, trying to like feel it, make sure that he's, on stable ground.
I unholster myself from the reptile and I sort of clamber off. And once my feet touch the floor, I turn to Dreden and I say, "Dreden, please get off the floor. It's unsightly."
You can hear him kind of like stifle like some vomit almost. He's like, "These old bones aren't what they used to be, Master Lysander."
I completely understand, but you must remember we're here to maintain appearances.
Of course. He stands up, he puffs out his chest.
And I offer a hand to help him up.
Oh, okay. As you offer his hand, he grabs yours. He doesn't pull you in too hard, but he kind of uses you to help himself up. He kind of dusts off the dust that he's now, taken from the ride, and you hear the slight stomps coming from behind you. You see Oak and Victory arriving. Vetra, thank you for the sub. Go sleep though. But anyways, so at this point in time, as Oak and Victory arrives, she gracefully gets off the rider, and at this point you see that she is almost the same height as you. She's not that tall, but she has a very slender figure. Her appearance looking a little bit unique than most. You see what seems to be like these white scales that kind of like cover her arms, and then as it goes down towards her hands, it looks a little bit more like claws even, that kind of like cover what seems to be a hand underneath, but all of it is just white scales, and her body kind of has this porcelain white hue to it. As she walks towards you, she does it rather gracefully, and she looks at you, just welcome. She smiles.
I smile back and I give a nod. I appreciate the hospitality.
She kind of like looks at you, kind of like confused, but she still has what's like this smile on her face. And then you hear Dreeden kind of like steps up behind you. But yeah, what do you do?
I chuckle and I say, "It's the crown, isn't it?"
She kind of has this weird, like innocent look on her face at this point. How you say
No, don't
this?
worry, I hate it too.
How you say, you see that she's kind of like looking for a word. She kind of like drifts off a little bit. Stories about you seem to be very untrue.
And what might those be?
She kind of like smiles a little bit. It would. She kind of like turns around, and like Dreeden's kind of turns towards you. You know how it is in the Valoran family.
I'm afraid I don't follow Dreeden.
I believe we should have more excursions amongst the local people sometimes. Oaken Victory, it's a pleasure. I believe we've talked in letters beforehand. She kind of like turns around. She looks at you. We can discuss later. She says, "Yes, Sir Dryden," and you can see like her language is kind of like breaking a little bit.
I smile and I say, "Perhaps, for further affairs, you and I can be in correspondence instead. That is what I'm being trained for, after all."
Yes. Your father, the king, High King Azimar, said you are arriving soon. We went to go look for you and we found you. And now we take you to your residence.
I appreciate it. Forgive my curiosity, but I do believe I was supposed to meet one Starwolf?
She kind of like does like, you see visibly her facial expression changes a little bit. She looks back, puts on the smile again. Yes. Embassy. Valoran Embassy.
Yes, that is where we will be headed. in the near
Yes.
future.
Yes. 2 days. Judy kind of looks at you. What does she mean? But and he kind of like realizes who he's talking to, and he looks towards at Oaken Victory, and she's like, Oaken, what do you mean by 2 days? Oh, wait, let me try, I guess. In Asinian, he kind of smiles, he looks at you, he looks back, and he begins to speak in a different language. And then you see that Oaken Victory's face kind of like looks a little bit confused. And she says, travels.
I turn to Dreden, so he's not present at the moment.
Either that, or he goes back, he's speaking in Arsenian. And then she replies in Arsenian, and he looks back at you. Or there is more walking to do. My Arsenian is quite rubbish. This is. I do not come to these parts quite often, and the Arsenians that we meet in Pretosia, they speak the common language. They quite well. So this is quite a challenge that we have here.
Well, I suppose it would do me well to learn the language.
Maybe we can discuss that with Oaken Victory. Maybe you can learn the language while your time here is going.
That would be much appreciated. I'll be sure to ask her in later meetings.
Okay. And at this point in time, Oaken Victory just walks ahead of you, and she turns around, follow. And as
I nod and I first go to the ride I was on, grab my stuff from the side, and I move to follow.
Okay. As you move to follow, the knights that were on the riders, they now accompany you as well. They kind of like form a formation that protects you guys by putting both you and Dreden in the inside. As you walk through whatever location this is, as you look around, you see that despite the very unvalorn architecture that's going on, like the walls kind of give structure to many of the establishments that you're looking around, you see that the state of the area looks a lot worse than the outer city of Pretosia. You kind of have with a quick glance around, you can see there is quite the presence of homelessness, homeless people, and the smells that you're receiving that kind of floats around is not very welcoming. A little bit strong to the nose. But as you begin to walk, you start to notice that there's a lot of eyes that are looking towards you. You don't know why you're looking at you, but like, yeah.
Yeah, as I feel the gazes on me, I turn and I wave, give a couple smiles and nods here and there.
As you do that, some of them begin to spit towards you.
I see that, and all the same, smile and wave.
Okay. As one of the spit kind of like gets closer towards you, immediately one of the knights goes up towards that person and like picks him up, and he kind of like just takes him and he just disappears into one of the alleyways that is within this ribcage.
Well, before he leaves, I'm gonna go over and go. I'm gonna try and stop the guard from like dragging him off, and I'll sort of say, I'll turn to Dreden and I'll say, "It's okay. they have a right to display whatever it is that they feel. No stranger to it.
So you're telling Dreden this, right?
Yeah, I stop the guard and I sort of implore Driden to translate without really asking him to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, as you do that, Dreden kind of shouts out in Arsenian, and he says, "Stop, please." And he goes back in Arsenian again, and then let's see. So, as what's it called? As he kind of shouts out, you see the guard kind of turn. You see his gaze kind of wanders. He looks around, and then he just leaves the man that spat towards you, and then resumes back into formation.
Yeah. As he puts the man down, I will sort of just give a courteous bow, and I'll say, to the man, I know not what I have done to your people personally, but I apologize. And with that, I will bow again, and I will remove my crown.
Mhm.
I'm not here as... I may be here as an ambassador, but I am not my father. And I bow again, and I will turn and walk to Dreden, and I'll put on the crown.
And you just hear this kind of like almost like shouting in Arsenian from behind you, and it's kind of like slowly being picked up from person to person as you're walking like along this ridge side, like if you see under like the picture, like on the right hand side as you're walking.
Yes.
um you kind of notice that your welcome isn't liked.
Not well received.
Yes, very not well received.
I will walk alongside Dreden and Oaken,
Mhm.
and I will ask them, I take it I'm not very welcome here.
Ogun Victory turns around, she looks at you. No, I said you are welcome. Welcome. And she points around towards Arkfall. Or the Arxinian lands, you could say.
And I turn to the... I sort of gesture to the people behind. Is that a sign of welcome?
She smiles. They say they like you.
I will insight check her.
With advantage, go for it.
It's a nat 20.
That's a fucking crit. Anyways, as you look at her, immediately in your head is like, that smile is fake. They definitely are not saying they like you. Like you pick up right away that she is putting some kind of facade poorly.
I smile at Oaken and I say, it's alright, Oaken. I'm here to catch whatever relationships may have gone sour. If I am to be the bridge between the Valoran Kingdom and Arkfall, I need to know what's going on.
She kind of like
I
looks
would
at you.
appreciate your cooperation and honesty. I implore you, and I give a courteous sort of bow.
Can you please roll for persuasion?
This is it. This is what I spec'd for.
This is your moment.
15.
Could have been a lot worse if you weren't spec for it.
True.
She looks
15's
at
a
you.
pretty good roll, level
Yeah,
1.
15's a great roll for level 1. She looks at you. She has this kind of like solemn smile to her, a little bit more subtle than before. A little bit earlier, it looks a little bit too forced. High Prince Lysander, we can work well. And you can see Dreden like kind of like looking ahead of you, like looking behind you, looking behind himself, looking at you two. Like you can see this like kind of like sense of pride on his face one more time. During this time, is there anything you'd like to do? You kind of like notice that you've been walking for a good like 15 to 20 minutes and is now currently evening.
Are there any stalls nearby where there is food? Or like street food or something?
Yes, you can see cauldrons that are out in the open and you can see people lining up beside them. With bowls in hand. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ask Oaken to stop a moment, and I move the line up and look for a bowl.
You can hear like Jaden immediately. So, Master Lysander, I can cook up something once we reach our residence. If you are hungry.
Hold a hand up, Dreden. We
And
are ambassadors, are we not?
Indeed.
Are we not here to learn about the people, partake in their culture?
You are. These are. He just stops before he like runs himself to death talking.
I turn to Oaken and the guards and I ask, would you all care to join me for a meal?
You see Oaken Victory kind of chuckle a little bit as she looks at you. And she looks at the guards. She says something in Arsenian. And as they go off, she looks back at you. She points towards a cauldron and she immediately does like the vomit look to and she points towards the cauldron.
And I look at that, I chuckled, and I shrugged, and I say, I turn to her and I say, I suppose I'll find out myself.
And then she walks ahead of you and joins the line. And during this time, you can see all these people are just looking at you as the line slowly moves forward. No one getting close.
At their reaction, like at the people who are actually eating. Are they making to vomit?
They're eating their food, but a lot of them are stopping to see what's about to happen as you're getting closer and closer. You see one of the knights return. He has like a bunch of bowls kind of made out of silver, unlike the rest who have theirs made out of either like the porcelain wood or just regular wood bowls or like brass. And he hands you these silver bowls.
I look gingerly at the ironically handed silver platter on my sort of held between my hands, and I give a grimace. And before I walk up, I remove my crown, I hook it back onto my belt, and I reach into my coin purse, and I ask Oaken, how much exactly is the meal? For all of us.
Free, no money.
Are you certain? Did I see anyone pay for the food?
Roll for perception.
Even though my passive perception?
Oh, what's your passive? Sorry, I should bring out your token.
17.
17. Okay. You do. There seems to be some kind of handoff happening. You don't know what it is. You can't tell if it's money, but there is like some kind of handoff happening at the front. And then
So maybe before we get to like our turn, I'm gonna ask Oaken. There has to be something there.
she kind of like
Wondering?
scratches her head. She looks at Dreden.
Trading.
Okay, go ahead.
They must be trading something. I've seen them pass. Goods, materials, I'm uncertain.
She speaks in Arsenian towards Dreden, and Dreden replies, Master Lysander, I believe these are rations that the city of Arkfall has given its citizens. It would be safe to assume that people are trading some sort of goods for either extra portions or something of that sort.
I nod and I reach into my pack and I pull out how many people are here? Like lining up, like in my group, sort of immediate group, with Oaken and the guards.
In your immediate group, including the guards, you could say there's at least 15.
I only have 10 rations. I reach into my pack and I pull out 5 rations and I look at Oaken. Would this suffice for all of us?
Many. She kind of nods.
I nod.
Many, and she does a big amount of people kind of like gesture.
So it's too much? Would I be able to infer that it's too much or I'm not giving enough?
With your look of confusion, she grabs one of the rations. What kind of ration is this?
Well, they're regular rations, but I imagine since I am a prince, they might be a bit fancier.
A bit fancier. Would you say it's like jerky of some sorts? Some fancy kind of jerky?
Well, probably not as tough as but it's cured meat and bread.
Okay.
Sort of hardtack, but not quite as, it's like fancier, but not quite fancy. It's still built for long travel, but.
Mm-hmm. As you hand over these rations that have been wrapped in this beautiful like velvet scarlet like covering, she grabs it, opens it, and she begins to make like some theoretical divisions, portions. And you notice that this one ration that would feed a person for at least a good day, she kind of like does like it's for 5 people here in this area.
Then I take 3 and I remove the velvet covering.
Mm-hmm.
And I stow it away in my bag as in my head I assume, well, I don't want to appear like I'm flexing, you know?
Right. As you do all of this, can you roll for performance for me?
Performance. All right. Performance 20.
Okay. As you kind of begin to distribute the rations that you have, you see that the reception around you is confused, but more welcoming, more positive. You can see like almost not an extreme change of heart, but you can see that, to the more locals that are around you, they're kind of approaching a lot closer. And they're not as fearful, you could say.
As I receive the food in my bowl, I'm going to go over to one of the free tables. I assume these are like what you'd expect from like a cafeteria where they're communal, where people sit with other people.
No, actually. It's more of these, like, have you ever seen like food videos about Vietnam?
Yes.
Like, you know how there are like there's these really small chairs, really small tables, and they're just lined up across
Yeah.
the side. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay. Then I'll look for a free seat.
As you look around, you do notice a free seat, but there's only one, and beside them, you know, are two locals are already eating. One a lot older. You can see that the scales are kind of like peeling off, and the other one is a young child who's just looking at you with an empty bowl.
I'm going to turn back around to the person serving the food, and I'll sort of gesture towards the kid with the empty bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Is the bowl like empty as in there's no food in it, like at all, like it hasn't been placed, or it's empty like they finished their food empty?
As you look at it, you see there's like some kind of remnant of food, but you can tell that the bowl wasn't completely full.
I reach into my pack for sort of the extra bit of rations,
Mhm.
and I ask Oaken if I bring out, you know, I gave 3, right, for 15 people.
Yeah.
I'll get 2 more, and I'll ask Oaken to translate if they can provide food for anyone else who comes in, and I gesture to the boy if they can also fill up his bowl as well.
She smiles, and then she begins to converse with the person at the cauldron. You start seeing, as they begin to talk, you can see like almost like these people are coming out of these alleyways. Like there's a larger population beginning to arrive, and people are starting to crowd this line. However, you see that Oaken Victory kind of walks up to the child that you were talking about, like grabs him by his hand and just walks him towards a cauldron and fills up his bowl.
I look at the child and I smile at him, give him a nod.
At this point in time, Dreden kind of walks beside you, and he kind of like whispers towards you. He's like, "Master Lysander, this is quite the generous offer, but he cannot be doing this every day."
And why can I not, Dreden?
You might incite some kind of for lack of a better term, some kind of riot. Hunger does not bring the most welcoming of people. Unless you are ready
I
to feed
understand,
everyone.
I understand, Dreden, but perhaps it's okay for today.
He kind of like nods, and he walks back towards where Oaken Victory is. All right.
And I walk over to the free seat. I sort of like wait first to make sure everyone in the group has gotten their bowl.
Mm-hmm. And they do.
And I walk over to the free seat and I begin eating.
Okay.
And I will do my best, no matter what the flavor is, to not make a face.
As you kind of begin to eat, it tastes like liver and offals and like, you know, there's like no meat in this like little stew. It's just all like dinuguan.
I mean, that's good food. That's good eating, Vin.
Yeah, that's good eating. I know, but it's.
We'll say it doesn't necessarily disagree with Lysander's tastes.
Yeah.
Unless there's a particularly distinct foul flavor.
You start to notice that there are like parts in this stew that just don't look familiar. You don't know what it is. It looks like a fin, but it does not look like any fin that you know of.
When in Rome.
Fucking chat. Anyways,
Draconic in the sun.
Berlin, would you eat the Naguan from a random dungeon? Oh my god. But yeah, you know, you get that immediate taste of iron,
Yes, sir, yes.
Yes. But yeah, you get immediate taste of iron, and you come to eat. There's something that tastes like fish. It feels weird, a little bit mucusy.
I'll just keep eating. Is the kid also eating?
The
And
kid's
the old
looking at
man,
you
are
with a
they-
full bowl in his hands.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep eating. I threw up my food in the cart. I'm hungry.
All right. Beside you, the old man kind of like looks at you, a little bit astonished that you're just eating it like you like it, and safe to assume that Lysander does like it. He
Yeah, it's
takes his
not
bowl.
foul.
Yeah, he takes his bowl and offers it to you.
I smile at him, and would I have been able to pick up any word for thank you just based off of assumption, like from hearing Oaken and Dreden speak?
Could you give me just a quick intelligence check, I guess?
Intelligence?
Yeah.
No.
Think, but you don't know how to, you can like word out think, but you don't know what the rest is.
Yeah, I'll word out thank, and then I'll say you in common and hope he understands.
And he continues to like kind of like push the bowl towards you, noticing that you're like you're just eating it.
Does he look like he doesn't like the food?
Roll for insight.
17.
He genuinely wants to give you the food.
I'll smile, and once I finish my bowl, I will finish his bowl.
All right. As you accept his bowl, you eat it. You see there's a big smile on this old half dragon's face. And he kind of like sits down. And you can, as you like take another look at this person, you see that he's basically like skin and bones, almost. But as you finish your food, what would you like to do? You already see kind of like Dreden and like Oaken Victory, kind of like standing at formation with the rest of the knights.
I'll stand up, and I'll give him a bow, and I'll sort of gesture for Oaken and Dreden to come over.
And they do.
And
Dreden a little bit
ask-
more eager than usual.
I'll ask, how do I thank this man for sharing his meal with me? I'm most appreciative.
You see Oaken kind of look at you. She has a slight like astonishment, and then Dreden, on the other hand, looks at you and he says, "Did you just take food from a dying old man?"
He offered, and I felt it would be rude to decline. I'm going to look if there's any way I can repay him for this generosity.
Immediately, Dreden says, "Thank you," in Arsenian. But then you see kind of like beside him, like Oaken just looks at him weirdly, and then she says something in Arsenian.
Already in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, could be a potential assassination, it could be poison, it could be a prank, and I'm hoping Dreden has packed some antidotes, but at the same time, I'm doing my job as diplomat and ambassador.
And as you're thinking all of this, you hear Dreden like say, "But no, in my teachings they say thank you like this," and he starts speaking Arsenian. But
Oh,
then
did I say thank you wrong?
you see as you're like thinking about all of this, Oaken Victory kind of like does this almost like this thank you gesture, puts her hand towards her heart towards the old man, and then she looks
I
at you.
will
Mhm.
turn towards him and I'll do the same gesture.
Okay. She continues then. You okay? And she points to her stomach.
I smile and I say, I am. Thank you.
Okay. 2 days. And then she joins back in the formation and waits for you.
I will walk back to the formation and I will smile at the people as I pass by.
You hear whispers at this time. Nothing. All in Arsenian, but they don't sound too angry. They don't sound too happy. But they're talking as you leave.
Yeah.
Them. At this point in time, you kind of been walking. You'll begin walking for quite some time. You're walking through what seems to be platform after platform that goes along this rib cage. It is safe to assume that it's already beginning to reach late evening. And then what's it called? Oaken Victory along this journey. She kind of tells you that you will be kind of staying at one of the local kind of residences.
All right.
She didn't say who, she didn't say what, but she did say you'd be staying at one of the local residences because you must rest before you continue the journey for tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay. As you begin to pass between rib cage to rib cage, rib bone, I guess, or whatever, section after section.
Yeah, rib.
Yeah, rib after rib. You begin to notice that the aesthetic kind of changes from place to place. Earlier on, it looked like a lot of like traveling groups, very nomadic in their outfits. A lot of trade is happening, and as you get deeper and deeper, now you're kind of like entering this region of the rib cages that kind of resembles kind of like a mining facility. These people are covered head to toe in like white ash. They're built a lot better than the people earlier. And you can see that along the walls, you just see these platforms that are just free hanging. And you can see like kind of these excavations beside the ribs, within the ribs. You start to notice that.
How wide are these ribs? Like huge?
To give you a very, very local way, you could say it is as long as the BGC strip.
Gee.
That's why it's taking you quite some time to walk between rib to rib.
That's fair.
To the people that don't know, this is around like 2 to 3 or maybe 4 blocks in like America. But yeah, these ribs are huge, and you can see like these platforms that are built that are just free hanging. They're just lined up along the wall, even going to the other side, and there's like no safety, no nothing. You just see like these lines that is strewn across.
Yeah.
At this point in time, you see a rib cage in the distance. Oaken kind of like points towards it. A rib in the distance. I mean, it's broken in half. It's a lot shorter than the rest. However, on the top of it, you see what seems to be buildings that have been kind of used to reshape the rib. She points at the top, and she looks at you, and she says, "We stay there."
I nod and I say, then let's make haste.
So, as you guys continue to walk, like I said, it's already late evening. The guards that are by your side, they're still trudging along. You can hear them. They're very loud. Their armor is quite heavy. You hear like almost the swinging of like creaking wood platforms nearby as you're just walking along this platform. As you turn around, you see kind of these ropes that are just swinging, but you don't see the platform. It's kind of like probably either below you or far away from you. You can't tell. It's a little bit difficult amongst all these ropes that are near.
I'll keep a mental note of that.
Okay. This entire time, as you're walking from region to region, you see Dreden gets more and more comfy as he gets deeper into the ribcage. At the final platform before you reach your residence, looking into the distance, you see this oddly ghastly kind of blue fog, you could say, just emanating ahead of you. And in your ear, you hear almost like a screech. Like the female voice is just screeching right into your ear, almost like a siren, you could say. And then you just get silence.
I sort of stop everyone. And is there like a ledge I can use to like overlook and see, kind of gaze into the fog?
Yes, there is. You kind of line up towards the fence of the platform. You look into the fog. What kind of check would you like to make? What would like to make?
I would like to listen for the souls, and I will use Wandering Whispers.
All right. So, second, I need to open up my notes. All right. So, as you begin to attempt to listen, you just hear almost like a sea of voices screaming, shouting for help coming from that direction. And then, could you please roll for perception for me?
Uh, 20.
You just hear kind of like the very softly in the distance.
He has arrived.
Sorry, he is alive.
He has arrived.
Oh, he has arrived. And after I sort of shake my head and sort of grasp at it a bit as the whispers and the screams become a little overwhelming. And for the duration of the minute, I'll just be like standing in place, sort of grasping my head in sort of pain until eventually I'm shaken out of it by someone.
Okay. As you begin to stand there, are you gonna go as far as to use your insight check on the stuff and to see what type it is and stuff like that, or are you just gonna let it be for now?
Yes, I'll try to sort of... No, it's a 9. It's too loud.
It's too loud. You're unable to discern what is calling, what is speaking. And as you kind of just stand there, wait, like almost like drifting as the wind begins to push through, you feel a tug on your shirt.
I turn sort of shakily.
As you kind of turn and you look towards Dreden, who has tugged on you. My Celeste Sansa, remember that advice we got that from that one scholar back in Pretosia? It might be time for you to as in his words, medicate yourself. This is quite alarming.
I'm quite alright, Drayden. It's been a long journey, so I'm a little tired.
Okay, just, we don't want Arkfall to know you as the one that speaks to yourself. To you. Well, yeah. That's how you say it. And he kind of smiles.
I haven't done that in years, Drayden.
He just kind of like nods. And then he kind of like looks around. Oaken Victory, are we closer? I believe Master Lysander is a little bit weary from our travels. And then Oaken Victory says, "Oh, yes, we are. Not long anymore." And
At that, I smile and I sort of move away from the ledge and I begin walking again.
all right. As you begin to walk again, you kind of feel the winds kind of begin to pick up. The platform that you're on, even though it's large, you could feel it kind of sway. Everyone else is walking normally. But it doesn't sway enough to kind of knock you off balance, but you're able to kind of at least like catch yourself. But you see everyone else just kind of moving as if they're used to this. Drayden, however, is holding onto the side of the fence.
Yeah. I'm going to attempt to just follow the people walking.
Okay.
As I give a brief smile at Drayden. I'll be fine. Let's keep moving.
Could you please make an athletics roll really quick?
Sorry, what?
Athletics roll, please, for favor.
Athletic.
As you kind of move, you feel the wind begin to pick up again. You are thrown off balance, and you almost like begin to fall off the ledge before one of the knights grabs you by your collar and pulls you back.
Thank you. I owe you quite a great deal.
He just turns around and he does not say a word. You see his face was a little bit like stone-like, and then he continues walking.
And I'll move away from the ledge and try and get some distance and follow them.
Okay. Luckily the wind does not pick up anymore. Drayden is kind of like, slowly walking behind. He is kind of like lagging behind, you could say. You walk up this flight of stairs, and you arrive what seems to be a lot nicer side of the Arkfall rib cages. You kind of notice that the walls around you seem to be a little bit more polished. The floor looks, it's paved properly, and as you kind of look above, you see this cool dome-like roof above you that is transparent almost, or opaque. I think that's a better word.
Yeah.
So all right. So as you arrive into this home, you notice that it's quite large. There seem to be a lot of vases, like decorations that kind of remind you of places like Steelwell, Pretosia, like all the villages that are along the way. You kind of notice that the decoration itself does not remind you of Arkfall. The guards that have accompanied you this entire time, they begin to kind of like separate, and they stand guard outside of the building and at the door. And as you walk inside, you kind of notice that there is a small section where there seems to be like the boots that Oak and Victory was wearing are now off, and she's like walking around like barefoot inside of this house.
I will follow suit and take off my boots.
As you take off your boots, Drina just walks in, and he sees like he's like tracking dirt on the floor. And then Oak and
I call out to Driden. Driden.
Yes, Master Alexander. It's nice. This is quite a lovely home. What do you think? And he's just walking around, touching
And
stuff.
I will say, it would be much lovelier if you were tracking filth all over it. And I gesture to my own boots, which are removed.
Mhm.
Perhaps a little more tact would be.
Oh, that is interesting. Okay. And this entire time, you can see like Oaken is eyeing you from the corner of the room. And you can hear like Dreden as he's taking off his greaves, and he just left the dirt that's around. And he says, "This is quite the lovely home. May I ask who owns this location?"
I will, while he's asking, I will reach into my bag for one of my older, I guess, bits of cloth. Sort of the stuff used to. It's like a handkerchief,
Mhm.
and I will, just while Dreden is going around, I'll just clean what bits of,
Mhm.
is there that he tracked along the floor.
Okay. So as you do that, can you roll a d20 for me? It's a regular d20.
D20. I am. Is there like a command for that, like slash roll?
Yeah, it's still slash roll, like roll 20.
8.
All right. So Heavenly has also given you a +1, so that becomes a 9.
Actually, it's a 10.
Oh, wait, what?
Never
no.
mind. It's out of stock. Fuck. Damn
you,
it.
you son of a bitch! I see what you're trying to do.
No, it's a 9.
All right. So as you kind of rolled a 9, you see that kind of Oaken's like in the distance is looking at you. Doesn't say anything. But if you do not mind, in your extra resource, I believe you have an extra resource, could you add a +1 and just title it question mark for now?
All right. Extra resource. Is that in okay? Question mark and 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 out of 1. All right. So, as you kind of like, clean up after Dreden does not pay attention, not one bit. He is busy doing his small talk that he's known for. And Oak and Victory, this is such a lovely home. It's, I really hope that the host doesn't mind our stay here tonight. I believe we may have been a little bit, prompt with our arrival, with you picking us up and everything. And the Oak and Victory kind of like looks at you and looks at Dreden and says, "It's okay. My home." And you can see Dreden's like, "Yo, well, thank you, Oak and Victory. This is quite the welcome. This is more than just a lovely home. I would like to say that it's quite unique from the ones we've seen. Do you live here alone?" Oak and Victory just kind of like takes a moment to herself. And you kind of notice that as you guys are talking, your voices kind of echo in this large area. And she quietly says yes.
As I finish cleaning, I move over to Dreden, sort of like, and elbow him in the side.
Yes, Master Lysander.
I lean over. You forget your manners, Dreden. Weren't you the one who mentioned that she was the last of her? Do
You see his facial expressions kind of like go into shock for a quick second.
and I look at him and I give him the stink eye, sort of, and I say, "We will have a talk later, Dreden."
Yes, Master Lysander. And you can see there's like immediate like kind of fear in his eyes.
My apologies for my mentor, Lady Oaken. It appears that even the teacher has much to learn.
It's okay. No problem. And you can see that there's like a slightly glassy eye effect on her. And she begins to immediately kind of like point to places where you guys can sleep. She kind of like points towards like these kind of like open beds in the middle of this large lobby area, you could say. They already have everything. Like there's blankets, pillows, everything you might need. There's even like a platter that already has water in it, like with containers and everything. Like it is as if she was ready for your arrival here.
You have our appreciation, Lady Oaken.
Yes. Okay. No problem. You give us land. She smiles. We have home.
I give a sort of half-hearted smile at that. Indeed. Home.
All right. So
And
what
then
would you
I
like to do?
say,
Okay.
well, if that would be all, Miss Oaken, I imagine we'd all like some rest.
Of course. She smiles. Please enjoy. And you see that she kind of begins to walk out of the house.
I will just not really. I'll keep a mental note, but I won't really say anything about it. And then, as she leaves, I will turn to Druden.
He just looks at you. He's busy like looking at all the furniture around the room. This is quite some interesting material. I wish I could bring one of these home.
Druden,
Yes, Master Lysander.
take a seat.
You know, it wasn't that long ago when I was telling you to take a seat as well.
Druden,
Yes, Master Lysander. He begins to sit
take a
promptly.
seat. Now, Druden, you've been my companion, my mentor. You've spent more time with me than father ever has. Correct?
Yes, I watch over you like any other father would. Obviously
Yes,
not
I
your father,
appreciate
but
that. Druden,
yes, Master.
while we are here at Arkfall, I do have some stipulations.
Interesting. Okay.
I hesitate to use my authority, but as we are on a diplomatic mission, I cannot have you, well, souring any relations or, let's say, interfering with my plans.
He kind of looks at you, a little bit surprised, saying that you're mentioning that you have plans, and he says, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't notice that I was interfering. Apologies. The last
Well,
time I was
it
here,
is-
and yeah, go ahead.
I hold up my hand, sort of to interrupt them midway. It's not your fault, Drayden. You are only doing what you are used to. But while we are here, I expect you to follow their customs. and most of all, follow my lead.
Okay, Master Lysander. I shall.
I
You.
will appreciate your counsel as always, but perhaps this is a good time for me to learn how to take charge. And so I will ask that you defer to me. Kindly.
You see, kind of like he like musters his lips a little bit. Like, you see a side, like a large like phase of pride go through across his face. He says, "Certainly will, Master Lysander. I apologies. I was just following your father's ways previously."
I stare wistfully out onto the sort of out the window, and I say, "Indeed. But remember, Dreden." I turn back and I give him sort of a half-hearted smile.
Mhm.
I'm not my father.
Indeed, you are not.
Well, if that will be all, Dreden, I will retire for the night.
He just kind of like nods. I will wake you in the morning as usual.
Yes, and try not to dirty anything in this household. I imagine you would not appreciate it if someone did the same in your own.
You are correct.
I give him a nod, and I will go look for a place to bathe before I retire for the night.
All right. So as you begin to like look around this house, you see that there's many corridors, many bedrooms. Even they're kind of like separated in different platforms. But as you kind of like continue to search around for somewhere to bathe, you reach the top of this home, and there seems to be kind of this large porcelain kind of like barrel, and then beside it is this kind of like smooth, polished, almost of the same texture of the porcelain wood you've been seeing a lot lately. And you just see it looks like, from your home, like a tub.
Just based off of general knowledge, is it really a tub? Because I wouldn't want to.
Roll for
assume.
history.
History.
It looks like a tub to you, and as you walk across to the what's it called, the barrel, you see there's water in it, and based on your studies, I mean, you know that half dragons do bathe at some point. So
Do I see any other telltale signs of like this being a place where one cleans themselves? Because if I am unsure, then I will pass on the bath.
I would say that you are unsure what this is for.
Then I will take my leave and just sort of change into a fresh set of clothes, and I will shower in the morning when I can ask someone where it is.
All right. So, as you go retire, let's take a quick 5-minute break. I need to get more water.
Me too.
And yeah, we will be back. Hopefully, chat. I hope you guys are all enjoying this, and we'll see you guys in like. There's a lot of talking happening. I like it. All right. We'll catch you guys in 5 minutes. because I forgot to play the intro earlier.
Oh, did he have it?
Follow me, then. Follow.
And we are back. I will have an intro for y'all soon. I just need more characters. But yeah. All right. So we pick up the story in a different area. You are telling me that the great Dreden of Britosia is a fucking peaceful imbecile?
Pardon?
You feel the chains on your hands again. You hear the creaking of the wood below. If I'm getting this story right, you decided to get, quite close to the people of Arkfall many years ago.
That is my job as ambassador.
Interesting.
And if I'm given a job, I aim to do it well.
Interesting. So the whole thing that is happening right now, you're telling me that you did it because you are an ambassador? That's quite the far-fetch.
Well, I suppose you'll have to listen to the rest of the story to figure that out. You signed up for this.
We got all the time in the world, buddy. I just want to make sure that I'm on the right side of things. So,
Let's hope.
tell me, how does the next morning begin?
Well, would you like to do the embellishment or not?
Whatever gets the story across.
It's a stormy morning. Winds are howling. I woke up, and well, I suppose that's where it really started.
All right. You hear the rattling of the house. You can hear all the items that are nearby, the shaking. One of the glasses that is beside your silver platter kind of like falls. Oh, wrong song. But it falls. You hear a heavy crash. And you can see the roof kind of like shaking as well as you wake up. Beside you, is Dreden, fast asleep. On one of the other beds. And across from you is Oaken Victory, just kind of like sitting on one of the chairs waiting for the both of you.
I sit up and I turn and I greet Oaken. Good morning.
Morning. And you just hear the howling winds going by once again.
Is that I gesture to the winds. Is that normal?
She nods. Especially when we are. She does like the gesture to make sure like you get that at the top of the rib cage.
Yeah. I nod, and before anything, I ask, "Is there a bath that I can use? Perhaps."
Um, she kind of like nods. Follow, and she walks out of the house.
I get up, and I sort of shake Dreden awake.
Oh, oh,
I'm going for a bath, Dreden. Lady Oaken is showing me the way.
oh.
If you intend to sleep in for a bit, be my guest. It's quite early. However, if you wish to follow, then we will be heading out shortly.
Oh, oh, oh. He just sees he's like still out of it. Oh, oh,
And I
oh.
will sort of nod at that and I'll say, get some rest. And I stand up and I move to follow Oaken.
All right. So as you follow Oakland Victory, she kind of like leads you down outside of the house. As you walk down the rib, there seems to be this large kind of like building establishment that's been carved out into the rib cage, and you see there's water just kind of like flowing outwards from it from time to time, kind of like large barrels being dumped from time to time. And as you arrive, you see there's like a door that is, you know, closed. It's kind of made out of the same porcelain wood, and it kind of like covers almost every nook and cranny you can see. And she kind of like motions you towards into the house, into that building.
I nod and I walk in.
All right. As you open a door, you're immediately greeted by this sense of how do you call this? Steam. It flows towards your face. As you enter, you just see this large like bathhouse, and there's like a few people there already this early in the morning. They seem to be just chilling. At the side, there's some like little steps they're just sitting on. There seems to be a large barrel in the middle where it seems where all the steam is coming from. You can see what seems to be they're like patting themselves with these large, almost like tree branch like things that have been soaked in water. And that's what they're using to bathe with. You see, as you enter, everyone just looks at you. Very quiet. They're all Arsenian.
I bow and I say, thank you for your hospitality.
And as you begin to walk in, you see that they begin to kind of walk, like, kind of like avoid you. Wherever you are, they are not there.
That is fine. I will sort of follow what they do when I bathe.
All right. So as you do your best to copy what they do, you clean up yourself up well. I'm assuming you change back into your clothes that you entered with. As you exit, you see Oaken Victory just kind of like standing there to the side. She kind of like she looks at you and she smiles. Okay, one day.
One day.
She kind of like nods.
I don't suppose there's anything else to do while waiting. She just shakes her head. You see, she's like actively thinking of what she wants, what she needs to do. Perhaps you have things you need to do.
Yes, I bring you. Valoran Embassy.
Very well, let's... wait for Dreden and then let us make our way there.
So you wait for like another hour, and at this point in time, you see Dreden kind of like walking down, a lot more with more posture. Like he's not as casual as he was yesterday. Good morning, Master Lysander, Oak and Victoria. Shall we continue our journey?
Let's.
By the way, I've also Oak and Victory. I've brought a gift. I purchased this in Steelwell. I hope you enjoy this. He kind of brings out this like same thing, red velvet kind of packaging. He unfurls it. Within you see this beautiful little pastry that seems to have some kind of cream that is sitting on the outside. This is I made sure that I took care of this one just for you. I heard that you like sweet things, and obviously Arkfall doesn't get a lot of those. And she kind of like smiles and she just says thank you, but she doesn't take it. And Dreden continues, would you not like this for breakfast? And she kind of like smiles. I eat already. Dreden can say, well, I can hold this for you. This is, this is a gift. You know, I'll hold it for you when you require it. And you can see he's kind of like a little bit shaken.
I'll hold out my hand and I'll say, perhaps I can hold on to it for her dream.
Of course. And he hands it over to you. It's a little pastry from Steelwell.
Yeah, and I sort of tuck the package under my arm and I say, well, shall we make for the embassy then?
We shall. And he kind of like, furls out his chest a little bit, pushes out his chest, and Oaken Victory kind of like looks at him as if he's a new person. And Oaken Victory begins to walk, and she makes the same sound, like she makes a weird like kind of whistle, and you see like coming from ahead of you, you see the formation return. The 3 knights that accompanied you are now guiding you. Could you please roll a d20?
D20.
All right. So as the winds begin to kind of push and pull at the platforms, you notice that the elevation that you're at is starting to get lower and lower, but you're also getting closer towards the blue fog, like the ghastly fog that is out in the distance.
Yeah.
And you kind of been getting these very quiet murmurs in your head. You can hear someone trying to whisper something, but you can't tell what it is. The voice sounds it's a female voice, that is for sure. And as you continue to walk, you are passing a few more different kind of aesthetics around the area. Now you kind of enter this like warehouse kind of like rib where it's a lot of their storage area, and you can see there's like a lot of drying materials, stuff like that. And you kind of like notice how the people get by. There's a lot of dried materials. Not a lot of it is fresh because of where they are. But yeah, as you guys continue to go, some time passes. It is now closer to like around noon. Would you like to roll for another d20? Unless there's something you would like to do.
I'll roll a d20. 12.
All right. So, as you are walking, you start to enter this new kind of rib area. Looking around, you see a lot of how do you say this? Female families. There doesn't seem to be a male in sight. All of their clothing seems to be of dark colors. They are also wearing some kind of makeup that looks a little bit different from the rest. They wear like their eyes feel very sunken with the way they do their makeup, a little bit smeared here and there. And as you're just walking by, you can see people just staring at you every step of the way. Dreden kind of like looks at you. I'd advise not to look back when you can. I've heard about these I don't know what they're called, but I've heard about them. Just don't look back. It's a bad omen of some sorts.
I will defer to you this time, Dreden. And I keep looking forward. And I just continue following Oaken.
Okay. You notice that as Oaken is ahead of you, a lot of the people around you, a lot of the female members are approaching her. They're all like giving her gifts here and there. Some of them are giving her meals. Some of them are giving them like little trinkets that they've made. She is like, if you want to like picture this is like a white, like light that is coming through like a big wave of like a black sea almost, you know? And she's just paving the way through for you guys as you're walking through. As you guys get to the edge of this location, of this rib, she begins to kind of like look back, and she leaves one of the trinkets behind.
Yeah.
And then she continues walking.
I sort of walk alongside her and I ask, forgive my inquisitive nature, but what was that?
Mothers, no children. Already, and she does like the kind of like dead face look.
I nod. I see. Why the gift?
I am Oaken, last of family. They treat me like I am their family. They give me gifts.
I smile at that and I say, that's a lovely sentiment.
Tradition. She smiles. We... She kind of turns towards you. Arsenians don't have kids, babies, very often. Very rare, very hard. So when one dies, we make sure that other families get stronger. We value the young, and we value the last of the lineage, you could say.
I see. And I will take out the journal and I'll begin writing that down.
All right. So you start to kind of descend as you guys are walking. You guys are getting lower and lower. And in the distance, you see what seems to be not a canyon, but I guess you could call it like a weird valley that kind of blocks, it kind of like draws the line of where Arcfall ends and where the Wailing Waste begins. And within this valley, you can see 3 rings. They are kind of lodged within the walls of this valley, and they're quite large. You can see it from very, very far away. These are just pitch black rings that kind of here, I'll just show you a picture. That are like, you see these rings that are kind of just like stuck in this valley from very far away. And she kind of like points off in the distance. She points. There seems to be this weird dome-like structure that is at the foot of this valley. You see this weird river that kind of goes along it, and you see these dome structures at the bottom of it. She kind of points towards there, which is embassy. She smiles.
I nod.
This is Arkfall.
This.
Yes. Well, Arkfall is very big. She kind of like begins to look for words. Then Dreeden kind of like interrupts. If I may. I believe in my studies, Arkfall used to be a nomadic clan. Arsenians used to be a nomadic clan. So the land is very vast. But this is Arkfall. In your father's writings, it was said that this is the promised castle or kingdom that he gave to the Arsenians when he took over the entire Valoran kingdom.
Then why is the embassy here?
Your father wished to make sure that Valorans have a say in the laws and the
No, I understand the embassy. But I'm asking why there in the castle? The promised one.
that is where your father wished it to be built. I do not have a simple answer for you. Or that's how it was written. And you can see that Victory's face looks a little bit kind of down at the mention of that.
Strange, isn't it, Druden?
Yeah.
People are promised the castle, yet we still have a piece of it.
You see he's kind of like holding some words back. He does not say anything more.
I shake my head and... well, perhaps the best way to understand is to check it out. Let's...
Let us hope the
Give it a look,
All-Father's light shines here as well. And you can-
Indeed, the All-Father.
and he kind of like, well, it shouldn't be that, we shouldn't take that much longer. We should be arriving at, oh fuck.
Oh,
sorry.
welcome.
Yo, welcome Phoenix and friends. Yo. Jeez. Guys, I really appreciate the raid. Welcome. Can we, Shin, if you're still there, can you please give Phoenix Wacky a quick shout out? You send some love from our side. But yeah, I appreciate the raid, guys. You guys have come at no better time. Today is the first episode of Diary of the Dead with Rat Kiko over here. He's playing Lysander, and the current quest is to basically fulfill a diplomatic mission. Lysander is currently the prince of a large kingdom called Valoran. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the time here, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the story. So, at this point in time, Victory kind of like looks at you and she says, we bring you court first.
Very well. The Arsenian court, if I'm not
Yes.
being rude, is it comprised of Arsenians, or does the Valoran Kingdom also have a large presence?
She looks at towards Dreden and looks at you. Ambassador is there. Okins are there. Maybe 2-3 Valoran members. You will see. Okay. The court very big. Very different. Many clans come together and they come here.
Very well, then. I suppose there's no better way than to go meet all of these fine individuals.
And she just kind of like nods. And, okay. You see, there's something on her head. She takes a moment, but then she just continues walking. Dreden kind of looks at you. Well, Master Lysander, I believe today's the day that you remind people who is the heir to the throne, I guess.
I suppose so. And I reach down to my side, I unhook the crown from my belt, and I place it on my head.
Okay. So, as you guys continue to walk
And I turn
down,
to Dreden and I ask, my cloak, please, Dreden.
of course. He goes into one of the bags, neatly folded. He pulls it out, and with the white lines and everything, he kind of like unfurls it for you, and he kind of.
I take it, I strap it over my shoulder, and I make sure the pin is set properly. Sort of emblazoned in gold, the symbol of the Valoran Kingdom.
Okay. So, as you now carry the symbol of the Valoran Kingdom and you're wearing your crown, you arrive at the base of this rib, and immediately there is what seems to be some kind of boat at this what seems to be a shallow lake. Already on this, you see the guards as well as Victory standing within it, and they're just waiting for you.
I move and step into the boat.
Okay. So as you step onto this boat, you see that the boat itself is unlike other boats. Instead of having a concave shape, it is completely flat.
It's like a raft.
Yes, you could say it's like a raft. It's completely flat, and instead of like rowing, you see one of the guards who's at the head of this boat. He's using this large kind of like stick that it's safe to assume that is pushing it into the floor beneath you and pushing you guys ahead.
All right.
So, as you guys travel along this short trip across this lake, you kind of go up beside the embassy. You see the walls are kind of high, and you hear the sounds of what seems to be music playing from within, like a lute, almost like something that you would hear at a tavern in Britoja. And
That's Bretosian music.
Dreden's like, yes, quite one of the famous ones indeed. Someone has good taste around here.
Perhaps they do.
And you guys,
I
Mhm.
look around. Like, what does the water look like? Is it clear? Is it murky?
it is murky, and every time that large paddle goes into the water, reaches deep inside, you see what seems to be like these white follicles rising to the surface and coming back down.
All right.
As you are passing the embassy, you see that there are multiple boats that are kind of like attached to a dock nearby. You see that are large, like big, heavy crates, and some of them have cages that have what seem to be an overcrowding of farm animals. From time to time, you can see some people going towards there, picking up some supplies, and just walking back to the embassy. And as you pass, you begin to look around you, and you see those dome-like structures above you and all around you, and these what's called these rafters and whatnot that kind of get you that lead towards the buildings above. But as you go further down this valley, you see the black rings ahead. And as you get closer, you see that Oaken Victory begins to take a knee at the head of the boat, and all the other guards do the same.
At this, I'll sort of inspect like what's going on before following suit.
All right. What's your passive insight? I believe that's is it on the sheet or
14.
14? Okay. So you kind of look around and you notice that there seems to be many people standing at the tips of these round, like dome-like structures on top of you, as they're looking down, and they all seem to be wearing some kind of like red and white garb, and they're all just walking with you as you're going down this lake. And you notice that the Essenians that are on the boat with you are following suit with putting their knees down and just waiting for the river the lake to take them through. Do you do the same? Dreden is looking around. He does not know.
No, I follow suit.
Okay. So as you drop a knee, Dreden looks at you. He follows. You notice that there's a very heavy silence. And within the silence, you hear.
You are going to dangerous locations, little one.
I reply in my head. And where might that be?
There is something calling me beyond these the same walls. Don't know what it
Beyond
is.
Towards the waste.
Yes, and it does not bring good omens.
Then perhaps it is right for me to be here. Maybe I can warn the people. If it's as dangerous as you say.
You are braver than your father.
And you just feel the presence kind of just disappear in your head.
Hello? You knew my father? Why am I only hearing this now?
You get no reply.
So-
As the boat begins to get a slow stop. What were you about to say?
I just click my tongue.
As the slow stop arrives, you are now right under the black rings of Arkfall. The boat comes to a still stop, does not go any further, Um, as you
So
look
if
above,
I'm correct, the people are walking around the black ring.
yes, I was about to say, as you look up, these black rings seem to be more like a stage. They look like a place for people to sit and watch and kind of look onwards. You notice that after this
Down
black
at
ring,
people in the lake.
yes, down at people of the lake, and you notice that after the black ring, there seem to be no more buildings from what you can see. There are no more dome-like structures above you. This is the end of Arkfall, you could say. And almost unnatural, like the boat comes to a full stop on its own into the middle of this valley. The light shining down. You hear Oaken Victory kind of like begin to say, in quite the like regular tone or volume, you could say. She begins to speak in Arsenian first. Her voice echoes as if whatever she says is amplified by the acoustics of this location. Within the Arsenian words, you hear your name. You hear Dreden's name. Then you hear Valoran. High Prince Lysander, welcome to Arkfall. And there's a voice kind of just echoes in silence. Soon after, you're greeted by what seems to be whispers.
I stand up. I assume Oaken has already stood up.
Yes. At her last mention, as she turns around, she calls you the High Prince. She stands up.
I stand up. I bow. And
as
I
you
say,
Mhm.
people of Arkfall, I greatly appreciate your hospitality. Thank you for having me here.
The whispers go louder and louder. And as you look up,
As I...
Mhm.
No, go ahead.
as you look up, you notice that if this is the court that she was talking about, all of the members are female. Not one of them are male. Of all varying ages, from really young ones to really, really old Arsenians.
I look up and I say, I recognize that my presence is perhaps not the most well received, but I assure you, I come only in good faith and goodwill.
There's a quiet silence, a really, really quiet silence. And can you please roll for persuasion?
Don't fail me now.
Oh!
Yes! That's what I'm talking about!
Oh my god. Okay, so
Oh, baby.
with your quiet words as they echo through the valley, you hear. You bring different air about you, different energy about you, young Prince of Valoran. As you try to go look for the voice, you look all the way to the top. You see that there's some kind of throne. You cannot see who is talking, as it is too far above you. But there seems to be a chair that people are surrounding. Your father came here many years ago. I hope you are here to change things. Then the whispers get really loud.
I look up and I say, I'm here to change all I can.
Hope for the better.
If I am to be the bridge between Pretosia and Arkfall, then I hope to be the best bridge I can be.
You seem to bring goodwill. We will welcome you. Many people here do not believe in you, but may we request, what is your mission?
At that, I take a knee and I say, you are too kind. I have been sent here under the pretense of diplomacy. But the way I see it, perhaps something larger is required than mere diplomacy. There have been, I look around, scars that have been left unhealed. Perhaps my visit here has reopened some old wounds. But perhaps with open hearts and open minds, we can mend those and find greater prosperity moving onward.
You hear a different voice amongst the crowd. You have done more than enough for the lovely city of Arkfall. On behalf of the rest of the court, I would like to say that your presence is definitely welcomed, but your kind has done more than enough. And then you hear another voice. Some rather kind words, and you just hear the voice kind of like echo across. Why cannot the king be here himself? He has conquered us a long time ago. And you just start to hear voices over voices. They're starting going on top of each other the entire time.
I then speak up a bit louder. I know not what my father's intentions are, nor do I claim to speak for him himself. But on behalf of the Valoran Kingdom and the people of Pretosia, I can assure you that we mean no ill will and seek only to strengthen ties between our two cities. After all, we are part of the same kingdom. And as part of the same kingdom, we are all one people.
You hear an uproar as you continue to speak.
I am not my father. The only thing I share with him is his blood. But we are two different people. I implore you all to give me a chance to earn your trust. Be part of this city of yours. One of you, if you'll have me.
Could you roll one last persuasion check, please? We will be watching. The Queen may have given you her grace, but there are many more of us that you must convince.
I bow and I say, an opportunity is all I ask for.
Oaken victory. You ought to watch the High Prince in all of his endeavors, and please guide him in his time. And as the voices continue to speak, you hear like the movement of feet kind of exiting, but there's still people watching overhead. And kind of some Arsenian words begin to get pushed out. You don't know what they are saying. And then you see Oaken Victory just looks at you. She says, she smiles. She has a quiet smile. Like she's looking at you with how do you say this?
Approval?
Approval, yes. She's looking at you with approval. And she says, "Embassy?"
I nod and I say, embassy.
Okay. And then your boat begins to turn around. And as the large paddles go back down and pushes, continue to move along your way back towards the embassy. You see another boat pass by. Two hooded figures are on it. They have chains locked into each other. A person behind them is maneuvering the boat. They seem to be wearing almost pitch black armor with some green highlights here and there. And then you hear a voice in your head.
They are coming.
Who are they?
I do not know. But you must be better than your father.
My father's a great man. I suppose we'll see if I'm able to be greater.
Okay. As you say that, you hear no further reply. And as the boat that passed you enters the court, you hear. The both of you shall now forever be banished to the Forgiven Hold. For whatever terrors may be there, may the land protect you, and may you pay for your sins. And they continue.
I turn to Oaken Victory, the Forgiven Hold.
She nods.
Between here and the Wailing Waste.
Yes. It is protection.
Is that not just sentencing people to death?
She kind of like looks at you. To maybe some, yes. To maybe some, redemption. Can be many things.
I nod. Well, let's hope that those men find whatever it is they deserve.
Right. As you are now getting closer towards the embassy, you hear Persian music getting louder and louder. Anytime now, Persian music. Anyways, so as you begin to get closer and closer, the music gets louder and louder. You all of a sudden uh, as you listen to the music, you hear, you feel once again, your hands are tied, your feet are tied, you feel the chains. The music continues, however. You hear the Protosian music playing in the background. A little bit muffled, but it's there. And you hear ahead of you, from the voice that's speaking to you for this time, he goes, "Why can't they just keep that freaking music under wraps? Anyways, did you... These two figures that you saw,
Persian music I hear.
do not worry about what kind of music it is. I just ask you a question. Who were those two
The
people?"
embassy.
This is not the question. I'm asking one more time. Who were those two people that you saw?
Can I inside check if he paused or had any sort of
Yes, you may.
other? Inside 18.
His pause seemed more like a pause, not because he seems to be lying about where you guys are, like what he wasn't trying to infer, but it seems like he was quite surprised about what you've said.
Well, based off that, I can ascertain that we're probably in the embassy.
Will you just answer my question? I'm trying to help you.
Oh yes, I'm quite feeling the assistance you're providing.
There's a side that needs to be picked, and we need to pick it soon. Now, can you please tell me who those two people were?
On the raft.
Yes, the one that passed you. It would be nice to know all the individuals that are involved with what is going on.
Well, this not long till I met them. I recall taking a visit to the Forgiven Hold not long after. If I remember correctly.
You hear subtle footsteps walking left and right, back and forth. A name would suffice, at least. Just any name. Do you remember?
I remember one of them. Does the name Laswell ring any bells?
You hear footsteps walking back and forth. He begins to speak in Arsenian. And he looks back at you. He says, I'm aware who that person is, but it was he the person that... You know what? I think...
Know what?
I am unsure about what you are saying. It is hard to trust you.
I assure you I'm having an equal amount of time. An equal amount of difficulty trusting you. But I'm being cooperative. Perhaps you could help me out more.
If this is to work, if that's what you need to tell me more information, what is it you want to ask?
What exactly are you looking for?
An answer.
Their answers, I need to know the question.
Well, we will have time for those questions. For now, I'll see you tomorrow morning. And
Before
that
you
is... Okay.
Could I have a glass of water? I'm parched.
You hear the door just slam. And that is
Okay.
where we end tonight's episode of Diary of the Dead. Oh, man. Dude, this is such a different vibe from the other two campaigns. I don't know if chat can see it, but it's a pretty good vibe.
Very fun. It's very fun.
Oh man, dude. It's this is the type of like political intrigue that I need that I needed, dude. Like I don't get to do it often. Political intrigue is not for everyone. So
Definitely not.
definitely not for everyone. Man, all right. So before we end, what do you think? What is going through your head right now as the story has progressed?
So, from what I'm getting is we're doing some sort of flashback, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
if I'm correct.
Yes.
I'm uncertain how many years or months or days into the future that the bound Lysander might be in, but I'm curious as to how he managed to get himself in that situation.
So am I. So
And also
I.
like all of the different like NPC interactions, the social interactions between like the city and the people.
Mhm.
There's so much to work with here, and I'm so excited to like. I'm already like pre-moving my chess pieces, and if things work out the way I think they're gonna work out, it's going to be so cool. It's gonna be great.
Oh my god. I could already feel like we're literally like DM and player having a chess match right now. Like you're trying to get your people, I'm gonna try to get my people. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. It's gonna be so sick.
And the only thing that like that's in between that sort of chess game is the dice. The dice will like it's so good.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, there are like lots of little things I enjoyed too, like Shinseng, Draconic Dinuguan.
Fucking Draconic Tinikuan. Dude, that was completely improv. I was trying to think of something that had liver inside of it. And like I was like thinking, oh, I guess I need blood too, so fuck Tiniguan. Oh shit.
Good eating, good eating indeed.
Yeah. Chat, what about you guys? To the people that were able to listen in throughout the entire thing, what did you guys enjoy? Also, what's up, Toph? Are you done with Valo? Fuck. Dude.
Hi, Topher.
Dude, next week. Shit.
Yeah, next week.
Oh,
I'm
man.
so excited.
I'm already like planning for the next. Oh, dude. Like now, I already have a good gauge on how what kind of player you are. Now I'm like, okay, I know where I can go, how fast I can go. Yeah, dude. Shit, I can't wait. I can't wait to see you fight for the first
Very
time.
good.
Also,
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm more excited to slowly reveal what features Lysander has. I think that's one of the things I'm also more excited about.
yeah, definitely a different vibe. It's not one where there's a whole fight everywhere. It's a more immersive style, like a lot of narration and such. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of narration.
A lot of dialogue as well.
Yeah. It's okay, Toph. There will be a VOD, and guess what? I'm uploading it to YouTube anyways. So you can share it to your friends and whatnot.
So that's, as they say, pretty poggy woggy.
Yes, sir. Anyways, we shall end the stream here, guys. Tomorrow, is Diary of the Felidar, a different kind of vibe. Okay. I'm not like, dude. Diary of the Lost is definitely very action oriented. It's like I watch an action adventure movie, you know, and then it's like watching a detective on Diary of the Felidar. And this one, I feel like I'm watching like, what's that political fucking East Wing whatever shit movie? Not movie, series. It's like in the Pentagon
House
or
of
something,
Cards.
or House of Cards. Yeah, that works too. But yeah, all right. With that said, we shall raid Elysiana.
Thank you all for watching. It was fun.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed Alistair's return while we wait for From Beyond Death. You could say phase one on variety. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. You get different flavors. You got different flavors.
I'll be real. I think Lysander's a cooler. Well, not like. I mean, cooler in the sense that, like, personality-wise,
Mhm.
a lot more level-headed than Alistair.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
If Alistair's Tony Stark, Lysander is what? Nick Fury, I guess.
Nick Fury. Okay. We're going back to what we said before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you guys don't know what that meant, we have an inner monologue where we talk with the player and whatnot. We discuss origins and whatnot. Yeah, you should go watch that too. Anyways, here is the raid message. Thank you, Shin, for shouting out my Patreon, my Discord, and also I have merch. Exclamation mark merch works now, but we'll use it some other day. But yeah, catch all of you guys next time.